All right, so for our next unit, we're going to shift away from your inequalities that you've been learning, and we're going to talk about absolute value equations. Now, absolute value, just hearing it, you may not know what it means, but I'm sure you guys have seen an expression that has a number like inside some bars. Those two bars, that's your absolute value symbol. So you may be able to identify it, but do you know what it means? Absolute value is the way that we explain the distance between a number and zero on a number line. So let's write that down where it says, what does it mean? Absolute value is the distance between a number and zero on a number line. There are certain numbers that we use in real life that are always absolute value numbers because, and you don't even realize it. And the reason why is because of this word right here. When we talk about distance, you may not realize that distance is never negative. Distance just explains the distance from one point to the other. So in order for that to be understood with absolute value, what you may remember is that no matter what you have going on in here, it never, and you want to write this down, never equals a negative number. That's the main rule that you have to remember when you're talking about absolute value equations. No matter what's going on inside, this could be negative, but your answer is always going to be a positive value because your distance is a positive value. Absolute value, when you're dealing with geometry next year, everything that you're going to do in geometry, unless you're dealing with direction, like on a coordinate plane, will be an absolute value. An absolute value number. Because think about it. You can't have negative distance. You've never heard of negative area. You've never heard of negative volume. So geometry is where you are only dealing with positive numbers unless, it's something specific like your direction to the left or going down. So hopefully you're familiar with this term. What we're going to do in this lesson is actually solve some problems and show you, what it takes to do that. So let's go ahead and start with that first sentence. To solve an absolute value equation, here's what you have to do. This is what you put in the blank. You must always solve, and I'm going to put the absolute value. So whatever's going on in here, it may be a number, it may be a variable, it may be both. You always solve your expression as a positive number or a negative number. So this may not make any sense to you, but here's what I'm saying. You know that whatever is going on inside your absolute value, it has to equal to a positive number. Okay, that's what you probably learned back in the 4th or 5th grade. But this inside could be positive or negative. So when we solve absolute value equations, we have to check both the positive and negative value because we're not sure what we're starting with here. So in the next video, we're going to do some example problems.